How did they do it? Look at the world around you. We build with steel, concrete, and cranes. We believe we are the masters of technology. Our machines can lift incredible weights. Our computers can calculate with perfect precision. But thousands of years ago, long before our history began, someone else was building. They were building with stone. And not just any stone. They were building with megaliths. These are stones of an impossible size. Some weigh as much as a jumbo jet. They were cut, shaped, and moved across vast distances. They were lifted and placed with an accuracy that baffles modern engineers. How did ancient people, with supposedly primitive tools, achieve such wonders? This is one of the greatest mysteries on Earth. Across the globe, from the windswept plains of England to the high mountains of Peru, these silent stone giants stand guard. They are monuments to a forgotten past. At Stonehenge, massive lintels balance perfectly atop towering trilithons. At Baalbek in Lebanon, the foundation stones are among the largest ever quarried. At Pumapunku in Bolivia, the stone blocks are cut with laser-like precision and fit together like a complex puzzle. These sites challenge everything we think we know about our own history. They ask us to question the story we have been told. The story of a slow, steady march of human progress from simple beginnings. These megalithic structures were not built by small, scattered tribes of hunter-gatherers. They required immense organization. They required sophisticated knowledge of engineering and astronomy. They required a deep understanding of logistics and mathematics. But mainstream history tells us that such knowledge did not exist so long ago. So where did it come from? Did our ancestors possess a level of genius that we have since lost? Or were they guided by another hand? Were they the inheritors of a lost science, a forgotten technology from an even earlier unrecorded chapter of human civilization? This is not just a question about rocks. It is a question about our own identity. This essay will take you on a journey to explore this profound mystery. We will travel to the most enigmatic megalithic sites on the planet. We will look at the stones with our own eyes. We will examine the evidence that lies in plain sight, evidence that is often ignored or dismissed. We will listen to the ancient myths and legends that speak of sky gods, wise builders from a golden age. And we will weigh these stories against the explanations offered by modern archaeology. We will not accept easy answers. We will ask hard questions and follow the trail wherever it leads, even if it takes us to uncomfortable and challenging conclusions about the true story of our past. The official narrative is simple. It is a story of brute force and endless time. Archaeologists tell us that thousands of workers using nothing more than stone tools, wooden rollers, hemp ropes accomplished these feats. They say that with enough manpower and generations of effort, even the greatest stones could be moved and lifted. They point to quarry marks and half-finished blocks as proof. They present a picture of primitive societies slowly developing the skills needed to build these monuments. It is a neat and tidy explanation. But does it truly account for all the facts? Look closer at the evidence. Pumapunku, H blocks of hard andesite. They are carved with intricate designs, perfectly straight lines, precise right angles. How was this achieved with simple stone pounders and chisels? In Egypt, the Serapeum. Granite boxes inside the Serapeum weigh over 100 tons each. They were moved through narrow, winding tunnels and placed with breathtaking accuracy. How did they maneuver such weights in such confined spaces? At Baalbek, the trilithon. 3 stones, each weighing around 800 tons. They sit atop a foundation course containing even larger blocks. How were they lifted and set into place so perfectly? The brute force explanation begins to fray at the edges when confronted with these specifics. This is where an alternative possibility emerges. It is a possibility that has been dismissed as fantasy and pseudoscience by the academic establishment. It is the idea of a lost high technology. What if our ancestors were not as primitive as we are led to believe? What if they possessed a sophisticated understanding of acoustics resonance or even some form of levitation? What if they inherited this knowledge from a much older, lost civilization that was wiped from the face of the earth by a global cataclysm? This is the story whispered in ancient myths around the world. Stories of a great flood, of survivors who carried the knowledge of a former age, and of wise teachers who helped humanity rebuild. In this essay, we will give this alternative view a fair hearing. We will examine the claims made by researchers who believe that lost technology is the only explanation for the megalithic puzzle. We will look at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a temple complex that is 7,000 years older than Stonehenge, built before the invention of pottery or agriculture. We will consider the mysterious stone spheres of Costa Rica and the underwater structures off the coast of Japan. These anomalies do not fit the standard timeline of history. They suggest that our story is far more complex and far more mysterious than we have ever imagined. We will present these claims clearly and without prejudice. Our investigation will be a tale of two competing narratives. On one side, we have the established archaeological view. This view is built on tangible evidence, radiocarbon dating stratigraphy, careful study of tool marks, and construction debris. It offers explanations grounded in what we know about the capabilities of ancient societies. It emphasizes human ingenuity, social organization, the power of collective labor. We will explore these explanations in detail. We will look at the experiments conducted by modern researchers who have tried to replicate ancient construction techniques using only the tools that were available at the time. What have they been able to achieve? On the other side, we have the narrative of myth and anomaly. This narrative is built on the things that mainstream science cannot easily explain. It focuses on the impossible precision, the colossal weights, and the sophisticated astronomical alignments found at megalithic sites worldwide. It draws connections between ancient myths from different cultures that all seem to tell a similar story of a forgotten golden age. This narrative asks us to consider that our ancestors knew more, not less, than we do about certain fundamental principles of the universe. It suggests that the evidence for a lost civilization is written in stone, for all to see, if only we are willing to open our minds. This essay will place these two narratives side by side. We will visit key sites that are central to this debate. We will start with the massive foundation stones of Baalbek and the impossibly precise cuts at Pumapunku. We will then journey to the Salisbury Plain to ponder the meaning of Stonehenge and its celestial alignments. From there, we will sail to the most remote inhabited island on Earth, Easter Island, to ask how the giant Moai statues were carved and transported. Finally, we will dig back to the very dawn of civilization at Göbekli Tepe, a site that has shattered all previous timelines of human development. For each site, we will first listen to the whispers of lost technology and then examine the scientific evidence. The central question is this: are the great megalithic monuments the product of human genius using simple tools, or are they the last remnants of a forgotten science? Is the story of our past one of slow, linear progress, or is it a story of cycles, of great rises and catastrophic falls? The answer matters. It shapes how we see ourselves and our place in the long story of human existence. Are we the pinnacle of creation, or are we a species with amnesia, struggling to recover the wisdom of our ancestors? Let us begin the journey and seek the truth together, written in the language of the giant stones. In the Bekaa Valley of modern-day Lebanon lies a site that defies belief. It is the ruins of Heliopolis, the Roman city of the sun. But beneath the impressive Roman temples lies something far older and far more mysterious. The foundation platform upon which the Temple of Jupiter was built contains some of the largest worked stones on the entire planet. 3 of these colossal blocks form a section of the western retaining wall. They are known as the Trilithon. Each one is estimated to weigh around 800 tons. They were quarried. They were transported over a kilometer. They were lifted more than 20 feet into the air. They are placed together with such precision that you cannot fit a knife blade between them. How could this be achieved by any known ancient civilization? Proponents of the lost technology theory point to Baalbek as a prime example of knowledge that surpasses our own. They argue that no combination of ropes, ramps, or manpower can adequately explain the movement and placement of these 800-ton behemoths. To lift such a weight today would require some of our most powerful mobile cranes working in unison. The claim is that the builders of this foundation possessed a technology for manipulating massive objects that we no longer understand. Perhaps it was a form of acoustic levitation, using sound to nullify the effects of gravity. Or maybe it was a different kind of advanced machinery, the remnants of which have long since vanished from the historical record. Even more challenging to explain is a fourth stone left behind in the nearby quarry. It is known as the Stone of the South, Hajar al-Hibla. This single block is even larger than those in the Trilithon. It is estimated to weigh an astonishing 1,200 tons, the equivalent of 3 Boeing 747s. It lies there, partially detached from the bedrock, as if the work was suddenly interrupted. Researchers like myself ask a simple question: why would anyone quarry a stone of this size if they did not have a reliable and proven method for moving and lifting it? The sheer intention to use a 1,200-ton block implies a level of technological confidence that seems utterly out of place for the ancient world, as described by historians. The mainstream explanation, that the Romans achieved this with levers and capstans, seems woefully inadequate when you stand before these stones. The scale is simply overwhelming. The claim, therefore, is that the Romans built their temple on a much, much older platform. A platform built by an unknown, earlier civilization with capabilities far beyond our own. The stones of Baalbek are not just building blocks. They are a message. They are a silent testament to a forgotten power, a lost science that could command the very substance of the earth. They challenge the foundations of our accepted history and demand a new explanation for who came before us and what they were able to achieve. High on the arid altiplano of Bolivia at nearly 13,000 feet altitude lie the ruins of Pumapunku. This site presents a different kind of mystery. The stones aren't as large as Baalbek, but their precision is utterly baffling. A field of scattered blocks cut from diorite, cut from andesite, both among the hardest stones on Earth. The stones look machined. Perfectly straight lines, razor-sharp edges, interior corners drilled with mathematical perfection. Many blocks are complex, interlocking shapes like pieces of a giant 3D puzzle. How could this precision exist from a culture with no writing and no knowledge of the wheel? The debate centers on tools and techniques. Mainstream archaeology credits the Tiwanaku people, active roughly 500–1000 AD, using simple stone pounders, bronze chisels, and abrasive sand. Advocates of lost tech reject that. Andesite is an extremely hard volcanic rock. Shaping it with softer stones or bronze would be painfully slow and imprecise, yet Pumapunku's surfaces are perfectly smooth and the cuts are flawlessly executed. The claim, simple hand tools can't explain this. It looks like modern power tools. Take the famous H-blocks, a series of identical interlocking stones carved to a uniform design. Multiple planes, intricate interior cuts meant to slot together. Engineers say they look mass-produced. Making one with primitive tools could take a lifetime. Making many identical ones implies standardization, the hallmark of industrial manufacturing, not ancient craft. How could a pre-industrial society do this? The question hangs in the thin mountain air. So some argue Pumapunku builders used advanced tech. Proposals, high-powered saws or drills, sonic cutting or laser cutting. Evidence, proponents say, is in the stone. Sharp, unerring lines, complex geometries, not the signature of a craftsman chipping with a hammer. Rather the signature of a machine guided by a plan. Pumapunku, not a primitive temple ruin, but wreckage of an advanced structure built with lost technology, leaving a puzzle we are only now beginning to appreciate. In the hills of southeastern Turkey, a discovery was made that completely rewrote the story of human civilization. It is a site called Göbekli Tepe. Archaeologists began excavating it in the 1990s, and what they found was stunning. It is a massive temple complex, built from huge T-shaped limestone pillars arranged in circles. Many of these pillars are carved with intricate reliefs: foxes, lions, snakes, boars. The truly shocking part is the age of the site. Radiocarbon dating shows that Göbekli Tepe was built around 9,600 BC. This is an astonishing 7,000 years before Stonehenge, the Great Pyramid of Giza. It was built before the invention of agriculture, pottery, metal tools. The very existence of Göbekli Tepe is the claim. It shatters the conventional timeline of human development. The standard theory holds that hunter-gatherers were simple, nomadic people. They lived in small bands and were incapable of large-scale construction projects. Only after the agricultural revolution, when people settled down and produced surplus food time, organization, resources. But Göbekli Tepe proves this theory wrong. Here we have what seems to be a hunter-gatherer society, quarrying pillars weighing up to 20 tons, transporting them hundreds of meters, erecting them into complex ceremonial structures. How is this possible? The claim put forward by alternative researchers is that the builders were not simple hunter-gatherers at all. Instead, they were the inheritors of a much older and more sophisticated tradition. Perhaps they were the survivors of a lost civilization, carrying with them the architectural knowledge, astronomical knowledge of a forgotten age. This would explain how they were able to organize the labor-engineer the structures and carve the stones with such skill. The site was not the beginning of monumental architecture. It was the end of one. A last gasp of a dying culture trying to preserve its ancient wisdom in stone for future generations to find. Furthermore, the site was deliberately and carefully buried around 8,000 BC. The creators of Göbekli Tepe filled in the entire complex with millions of cubic feet of earth, preserving it perfectly for millennia. Why would a culture spend centuries building such a magnificent site only to intentionally bury it? This act itself is a profound mystery. The claim is that this was a deliberate act of preservation. It was like creating a time capsule. The builders knew their world was ending, perhaps due to the dramatic climate changes at the end of the last ice age, and they buried their sacred temple to protect it from the coming chaos, hoping that one day we would uncover it and understand its message. Section 5. A question for the future. We are left, then, at the edge of a great precipice of knowledge. Behind us lies the vast and growing landscape of what archaeology has uncovered. We have a map, however incomplete, of the methods and timelines. We can admire their skill, their perseverance, and their ingenuity. But before us lies a chasm of the unknown. Across that chasm, shrouded in mist, are the answers to the deepest questions, the questions of origin, of meaning, and of the true shape of human history. The whispers of a forgotten age and a global cataclysm echo from that chasm, carried on the winds of myth. We have not yet built a bridge that can carry us safely across. The prudent path forward is one of cautious, open-minded curiosity. We must embrace the rigor of the scientific method. We must continue to dig, to date, and to analyze the physical evidence with honesty and without prejudice. But we must also have the courage to ask the big questions that this evidence provokes. We must not be afraid to challenge established dogmas, whether they come from mainstream science or alternative theories. The moment we declare the mystery solved and stop asking questions is the moment we stop learning. The megalithic sites are a gift from the past, designed to make us think, to wonder, and to question our place in the cosmos. The stones stand as a permanent reminder that we may not know our own story. They suggest that our civilization is not the pinnacle of human achievement, but merely the latest chapter in a much longer, more dramatic saga. They hint at the possibility that humanity has risen to great heights before, only to be cast down by forces beyond its control. This is a humbling and unsettling thought, but it is also a hopeful one. It suggests a deep resilience in the human spirit, an ability to survive, to remember, and to rebuild. The knowledge of our ancestors may not be entirely lost, but simply dormant, waiting for us to ask the right questions. And so we end where we began, with a question. As we stand on the threshold of our own uncertain future, facing challenges of a global scale, what can we learn from these ancient masters of stone and spirit? They faced their own world-changing cataclysms at the end of the Ice Age. They responded by creating monuments of immense power and endurance, encoding their knowledge for future generations. They left us a message in a bottle made of 1,000-ton stones. The final provocative question is not just, how did they do it? It is, what were they trying to tell us, and are we finally ready to listen?